Good morning, Trump's family. Welcome back to my channel. Have a good day, everyone, and God bless you. Alright, without further ado, let's get into the news this Wednesday morning. Now, both Biden and former President Donald Trump continue to face the same issue regarding possession of classified documents. These issues are more serious than most people understand, as they could amount to federal felony charges if convicted, or it could out military people or spies or deep intel that we don't want enemies to know about. Now, despite the severity of the situation for both men, Biden continues to act as if his situation is much different than Donald Trump's. For starters, there seems to be a belief that because Biden came forward to the press after discovering these documents that he's better than Trump, and that his situation is better than Trump. However, when taking a closer look, it does seem that this story, they were trying to keep it quiet. In fact, according to the Daily Mail, a new article from investigative journalists showed that the White House only told the press about these documents and agreed to cooperate because the story was about to leak from the Department of Justice. So basically, they got ahead of the story, because they got inside information that it was about to be leaked to the press. When Biden's lawyer uncovered classified documents at his home, they reported it to the Biden White House. From there, the White House alerted the National Archive and the Inspector General at the National Archive. And then they went to law enforcement. They then kept this quiet until after the midterm election. In fact, they kept it quiet for almost 2 months. In Biden's position is that because he came forward, that he shouldn't get in as much trouble. However, the American people and the Democrat Party are turning on him because as vice president, he didn't have the authority to have these documents. Now I find it very interesting that President Obama hasn't done a press release or an interview saying, I declassified these, I let Joe Biden have these when he was vice president. None of that is happening, but Democrat Party is letting him be the fall guy for these documents. Right at the time he was about to announce running for president. Republican leaders, Senator Ron Johnson and Chuck Grassley, are still pressing for more information on who was allowed access to these classified documents at Biden's school office, at Biden's home, and in Biden's garage. The senator stated, as part of our ongoing congressional investigation, we request that no later than February 2 of 2023. The Secret Service provide a full and complete list of all individuals who entered the location where classified records related to then Vice President Biden were identified. A former FBI official who was involved in the Trump-Russia Gate scandal has just been arrested on charges of money laundering and violating sanctions with somebody from Russia. So the very crime he accused the president of, he's now been arrested for doing himself. Donald Trump responded to the news by stating the FBI sleazebag who was just arrested for receiving money from Russia. These are the people I inherited from the corrupt FBI, including Comey and his crooked band of misfits and thugs. So again, the very guy who said Trump was a Russian spy and taking money from Putin has now been arrested for dealing with illegal financial transactions with Russia. This is called poetic justice in the world of writing. Now, news has just broken that former Vice President Mike Pence has joined the likes of Trump and Biden. Pence's lawyers have stated the additional records appear to be a small number of documents bearing classified markings that were inadvertently boxed and transported to the personal home of former Vice President Mike Pence at the end of the last administration. Just like Pence and by Biden and Trump. Pence is saying I was unaware of these documents. And will fully go whopper wade with the FBI or the Department of Justice. Okay, so now almost everybody high up in government is being caught with classified documents. What is going on, right? Ukraine has just performed the largest anti-corruption measure today. Many top officials of the Ukrainian government have been forced to resign as a result of scandals, bribery and embezzling money. Ukrainian President Zelensky stated, I want this to be our signal to all those whose actions or behaviors violate the principle of justice. So it turns out, there was a tremendous amount of corruption going on in the Ukrainian government. These officials were using American taxpayer dollars to fund luxury homes, luxury vacations, luxury cars, fancy dinners, and on and on and on. Now, we knew there was corruption. We also know that only about 30% of the weapons that we send to Ukraine are actually making it to the front line, the rest are being captured and sold on the black market. The Wall Street Journal has reported that the United States is now leaning towards providing tanks for Ukraine. Both America and Germany are under pressure to provide tanks to Ukraine. However, Neither of them wants to be the first to make a move. It makes the first mover look like they are joining the war, and they worry about pushback from Vladimir Putin and the Russian Federation army. This is causing a lot of tension as the United Kingdom is now accusing the United States of not pulling their weight when it comes to helping Ukraine, even though the United States has put up more money, more people and more weapons than any other NATO nation. Despite this risk, it appears that the United States will have to make a decision in the near future. Now, speaking of Russia and Ukraine, Russia is once again threatening nuclear weapon use if Russia loses this war against NATO. They are officially stating this is no longer a special operation. But we are at war with NATO nations. So it appears that Russia believes we are in World War III, that this was no longer a Ukraine-Russia conflict. However, NATO's top countries are trying to get away with still saying this is a Russia-Ukraine conflict. For example, Ukraine is begging for Leopard tanks from Germany and the United States. But Germany says they don't want to give Ukraine tanks because these killing machines will make it look like Germany wants to be involved in fighting Putin. But they are now saying, Poland, you can send our old German tanks over to Ukraine. So Germany is volunteering Poland to look like they are getting into the war with Putin, but not Germany. Poland is saying, listen, we are on the verge of financial meltdown and collapse. We don't have the money to handle all the Ukrainian refugees that have come in because of the war. Poland to date has received more than 5 million Ukrainian refugees. And their government is now saying we don't have the food, or the space, or the housing, or the supplies to keep up with the significant disruption on Polish life. So Russia is saying we don't care who sends tanks, they all burn the same, and we will target this military equipment. Sadly, new data released today shows that Ukraine is losing hundreds of soldiers a day to Russia, prompting many to say that Russia is being used by NATO as pawns in a world war. Basically, they're just bodies that are being killed in the name of NATO, according to Russia. Now, as I speak, Vladimir Putin has ordered a warship armed with hypersonic missiles to head towards the east coast of the United States. The U.S. Pentagon says we are aware of the warship and we have eyes on the warship. They believe that this is a threat, basically, that Putin is pounding his chest and flexing his muscles and that nothing will come of it. But this is a big story in the news today, and the Pentagon is watching this with military eyes. White House Press Secretary John Pierre has been fact-checked as announcing on national TV that Republicans will soon be voting to raise gas prices on American workers. She then said President Biden has worked tirelessly to bring gas prices down for struggling American families, only to have this new Republican House undo all of his hard work. Now, first of all, no Democrat leaders ever voted to bring the price of gas down, nor did they vote to raise the price of gas. We all now know that Congress and the President have very little ability to affect global oil prices. In fact, OPEC and Saudi Arabia have more control over the price of gas in the United States than Congress. So she's basically spreading lies about gas prices increasing through Republican voting. My guess is, and this is sad, is that the White House has been made aware that the price of gas is about to go up enough that people are going to complain. And so they're shifting the blame away from Biden, just as Biden shifted away from himself over to Putin. So now this isn't the Putin price hikes. It will be the Republican price hikes, according to the White House. Now, speaking of conspiring Republicans, Republican lawmakers are working feverishly to get Senator Kyrsten Sinema of Arizona to become a Republican. As you know, the senator has butted heads with Biden since day one, and messed up his ability to print nearly $6 trillion last year. Then she officially left the Democrat Party, stating she can't deal with this anymore. Now Democrats say they will run a new person named Guy Diegos against Arizona, while Arizonans are begging for Kari Lake to run for Senate because there will be a split Democrat ticket. So basically, they're saying, let's put in a big well-known name while the Democrats are split. However, Republican lawmakers are saying if Sinema will commit to being a Republican, they will back her with money and support and not back Kari Lake. But if not, then they will go up against the split ticket party and they will run their own new Republican. The majority of Americans in a new poll are saying they do not want the federal government to raise the debt ceiling. In fact, they believe the federal government is becoming more socialist than ever before. They want the federal government to operate within their tax income, lower their spending, and cut out wasteful spending. Now, tell me what you want the government to do? Do you want the government to keep printing money and spending on all of their pet projects? Or should they operate within a budget just like the rest of us? Let me know your thoughts down below. Lastly, billionaire Bill Gates. Bill Gates flew to Australia today in his $70 million jet, burning more fuel than hundreds of people on an airplane in a single trip, only to tell the people of Australia, "You are polluting the world and you must curb your carbon emissions or else you will kill everybody on the planet." Now, what do you think? Is his message going to be well received? Or are they going to see through the hypocrisy of this billionaire? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. The president being indicted for possibly giving classified data or allowing others to give classified data for money. According to the New York Post, something that needs to be looked into. So the New York Post, there's no hiding Biden's fright over classified documents scandal. Very, very amazing journalist. And really awesome. She is fantastic. And there are photos here. There's discussion of how Hunter had access to the garage, or you could see the garage with a whole bunch of documents. Very nice Corvette. Beautiful Corvette. Very nice. Hey, man. Once on my stream, man, a cornflakes come on in, man. He had access to the money, and the article here talks about emails and a discussion. And there's a box. There's an important docs. There's a document box. A photograph of a box in Bynes, Delaware at home labeled important docs found in Hunter's laptop. I mean, you can't even make this up. You can't even make any of it up. And then the Washington nothings, you can't prove anything. And the Washington Post, the same publication along with everyone else, that said, "Oh, you know what? I'm sure Clinton purchased a dossier against Trump completely fabricated, but let's investigate forever." And here you have the actual emails they have. They're continually caught with their pants down. I can't stand when that happens. And then it's like, don't look over here. Look over there. You don't believe your eyes, don't believe what you're seeing. That there are emails within Hunter's laptop. The New York Post, the Daily Mail, the Federalist publications published that are clear violations of the law. Whenever there's any defense of Hunter and Biden, and God bless them. I know, like, this is not a morality, like sermon on morality and preaching. And I don't preach it. I don't give sermons. Not like the Democrats and the pundits on left. Oh, my goodness. Oh, the corruption with Trump. Well, you didn't indict him for a reason, because he didn't commit a crime. You didn't indict Hunter or Joe or Hillary because they did commit crimes. The system's protecting them. We know that from people giving money to them, expecting favors, getting favors, and then the transaction repeated all the time. And then every one immediate thing you're going to do, you can prove anything? Well, there's 150 financial transactions investigated by banks, activity reports, that one associated with Trump. Then you have classified data as from Biden, this time in the Senate. He couldn't declassify that ban alone as a crime. With Trump, it wasn't a crime for him to take classified records. Bill Clinton already did that. And then the rebuttal is, well, it was different. Yeah, it was different. It's still a precedent, though. Nothing's exactly the same. The precedent is that other presidents, Bill Clinton included, have done what Trump did. Okay, but a judge said, well, he's writing a book so he can have the classified records on tape next to his underwear in a sock drawer, okay, in his bedroom or whatever. So that's what the judge said with Bill. But with Trump, the Federal Bureau of Investigation knew he had the documents. They knew this because there was a record of everything given to him when he was president. You think he just goes into some storage facility in the White House and like, oh, these are wonderful, amazing, classified records, can go and take them to Mar-a-Lago and the National Archives can embrace my rear end. The National Archives, glorified government library, the Presidential Records Act doesn't even have an enforcement clause. So the Federal Records Act is for senators who take classified data and lose them. But here you have Hunter making hundreds of millions of dollars in deals, billions in deals with access to classified records that the New York Post said, hey, you know what, is there an issue? Not saying that he did. I'm saying an indictment would be easy to kind of show that he had access to them. The classified records were just floating around. And if you got him under oath, whether it was a congressional testimony, almost certainly Hunter had access to classified records. Again, this doesn't mean that he's the embodiment of criminality. It means that if you're gonna go after Trump with this intense, apoplectic, frenzied zeal and you don't look into the past, they were accusing Trump of selling classified data. Thank you very much. WWG1WGA. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button to watch the next episode. Goodbye. God bless.